All right. I put a shirt on because I got my house a little cooler where it was a little chilly. I'm here now trying to fulfill, trying to do a promise to a friend of mine. A promise to a friend of mine that's going to be a friend of yours. Oh, let me get this arrow out of my face. Oh, and then the camera come back. How do I get that out of my face? I don't care. I'll just leave it there and keep leaning over this way and talk around the camera. He told me if I told a story about this rat, he'd get on here and play me a song. Now, this has been a long, long time coming. This guy plays so much better music than I ever thought of. I mean, woo. And this is a deal of a lifetime for us all. But I got to tell this story about this rat named Nixon. You know who Tricky Dick was? Nixon. Some of you might be too young, but there might be some old guys out there that remember Nixon. God, I still got this camera thing in my face. Oh, it went away. All right. I lived in a cabin in the woods. An old friend of mine, actually he was younger than me, but he inherited this cabin when his grandparents died, or his wife's parents died, after she died. And when she died, he just lost himself. He came back from Germany and being in the military and drank warm beer, and he had two beautiful little girls, and his wife died. And his wife's family lived, they were rich and they lived back on the East Coast, you know. And they had this cabin that they rented from the government for a 99-year lease. One of those, you know. And it was built by his his great great grandfather built this cabin along the Samlisac River. It was like probably the second cabin. It was there before the lodge that they had. We won't go into that story, but that's another long story. But after I met him and we became good friends and stuff, he took me up this cabin and I lived in this cabin, and all around the inside of this cabin, that you guys might think this was gross. There was moose heads, there were the antelope heads, they were hanging on the wall. It was like a hunting cabin kind of thing, and it kind of grossed me out when I first got there because I don't kill to keep the heads. You know, I might take a horn or a hide, but to look them in the eye after they're dead and know it's a different eye, some guy that stuffed it, made it look like, well, never was my forte. But old Hanky Poo, I called him Hanky Poo. His name was Hank. I ain't gonna throw out his last name because he's dead and gone, and the ones that know him or knew him knows where he's buried and stuff. But okay, back to the rat. When I first went up there at its cabin, he had this 22 uh, rifle. It just shoot 22s, and he had this rat problem. And this pack rat moved into his house, moved into the cabin, because the cabin was shut most of the time. What a great home for a rat. This cabin had 4 beds on the porch, because it was right over the river, and 16 beds in the loft of the second floor. No beds on the first floor. It had a pump coming out of the river to pump water. It actually had a rock shower up of one door. Well, Nixon, he got in by coming through the rock shower, chewing a big hole under the door, and then he decided it was his house because nobody else was there. And it was his house during the winter. But in the summertime, when us come back, here's old Nixon. He'd come down on the stairs, and he was as big as a wiener dog. And then he had a furry tail this long. Wait, that is really backward. He was this huge. And he'd come down because we didn't have no electricity. All we had was candlelight and lanterns. And he'd come down and just laugh at us. And this friend of mine used to grab this 22 and try to shoot him. Never did do nothing but put holes in logs. Sometimes those logs got so hard that the bullets ricocheted around the room. Oh, he quit doing that after one ricocheted and went through the window next to it, back at him. He quit using the gun. But he'd been fighting this rat, because this rat for years had been stealing shit. Pack rats, you know how they steal stuff? They take your shiny shit. Your keys, your wallets, your money, your ID, the cards off the table. Anything they can carry away. And your food. Well, it took me 5 years hunting down Nixon. And I didn't catch him. I just knew how to. He come in one night after a long time living in the same house with him. And he took a loaf of bread off the counter in the kitchen. But he only took half a loaf. So I figured, wow, took a half a loaf, took a half a cantaloupe and a half a loaf of bread. And he left the other half. He'll be back tomorrow night. So I had this friend named Cliff Jackson, old moonshiner. We tried every kind of rat trap there is, none of them was good enough. So he gave us some gopher traps. And this little man at the time, now he's probably huge, I don't know, but his name's Virgil. And he helped me set the traps one night after the rat left around the loaf of bread. And Virgil got him with his trap. After 5 years of trying to catch Nixon, we got Tricky Dick. And it was great to catch Tricky Dick, but I didn't catch him. And the whole story of you catch something and kill it, you eat it. So poor Virgil, this little guy. Well, first thing I do is we take him outside, we caught him. First we gotta gut him. Clean out all his guts. Clean him out, get him ready. Then I teach him how to take the hide off. Cut the tail. Let's see if I can keep my hands in the middle screen because this thing's backwards. Okay. This tail was, I keep going the wrong way. Move this end this way. This tail was, see how my shoulders are? That's how big the tail was. But it was this big around and fluffy and gorgeous looking. First thing I said is cut that tail off and we'll hang it up and we'll dry it and then you can wear it in your hat. So he did that. And he was listening to me and learning things. And we pulled the meat out of that thing. We put it on the barbecue. Well, it wasn't a barbecue. It was one of those old Safeway carts that had the square fold-down things. Those stainless steel ones. Those were great. Those tops, you could just set them on the ground, put a fire under them, and cooked. It was perfect. Perfect square little things, boxes. But they were stainless steel. You could just put fire under and cook. And things didn't fall through, just like they don't in the grocery store. They quit making those. I'm looking for some of those. If you ever go camping, you ever find some of those leftover square box things, those are great fire starters. Okay, back to Nixon. After we took the hide off it, and I didn't let him throw the hide away, he had to put it on the board, stretch it out, scrape the fat off. Then we put the meat and we put it on the barbecue. And we were going to eat it. Well, I told him, here, I'll take the first bite and see if it's any good. It was not. It was bitter. He was so old. He was like the toughest steer in the world. The only way you could have cooked him was not on the barbecue. You could have put him in the stew, but I didn't know that at the time. But, so I just told him, well, Nixon was too tough, and we threw him in the river and let him go down to feed the fish. Well, that's the story of Nixon. Now, Pete, you're out there somewhere. You owe me the Bullfrog Woad song. All right, you guys. If you ever get this Pete guy going on YouTube, paying back what he just told me, you'll be absolutely amazed how good this guy really, really is. He's got a song about Wisconsin blows that makes my toes curl. He is so great. But he don't get out there, you guys. I finally won the battle after almost 25 years. I did my part. Now it's up to you, Pete. Do your part. Good night. I got all this into 15 minutes. I think it's a Nixon story. It'd take longer than that. And Virgil, if you're still alive and out there, bud, keep hunting rats. I hope you still got the tail, man. All right. Scratch my nose and find the square.